What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today at Reactions to the Classics, we are up to the year 1983 and our top 5 albums by year draft that we've been doing. Started in 1965 and transversing through the early part of the 80s here today. Always a good time, Dad.
Yeah, agree 100%. And yeah, we're quite a ways through this journey. We're up to the point where I turned 12 years old in 1983.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a lot of albums in the 80s I didn't know, and back then we listened to the radio and a lot of singles and not so much albums. So you combine those two things. It's been a journey so far. It's going to be an even better journey for me discovering, quote, new music from my childhood that I didn't know existed. But if you guys, the first time join us, here's the way it works. I'm going to draft first today. Trey will draft second and third. I get fourth and fifth picks and so on until we get to the 10 albums. And we're going to need your help at the end. Who do you think won? It's SHAWN. So there you go there. So Trey, with all that said, man.
You can kick us off.
I'll kick us off. There were 2 albums that I loved from this year. And dang it, you took it with the second pick. The other one I wanted. But I had to go, if you know this channel, you know my thoughts on this. I had to go with REM, Murmur. Debut album released in April of 83 by IRS Records. Trey, I think it's in the running for the best debut album ever. It's on the short list.
No, it's a great one, man. We did a full review for our REM superfan Brian,
Yes.
And it was really fun to dive in. And all these REM IRS records are fantastic, but Murmur might be the best of the bunch.
I think it is, and I know there's a lot of discussion there, but it's good. If there's a lot of discussion, that means you put out a lot of quality material. Only went to 36 in the U.S., but I mean, that was a big deal then on your debut album. It was Rolling Stone's best album of 1983, which is a huge deal, and everyone's going, wait, who are these guys? Because when you see the other albums on this list, you got Radio Free Europe, you got Moral Kiosk, but you got one of my favorite REM songs, one of my top 5 favorite REM songs, Perfect Circle.
Great song, man.
So go ahead, Trey. Why don't you take my other one that was 1B? That was 1A. Go ahead and take my 1B.
Well, we're gonna go now to a group that I just discovered going through these albums, man.
I mean, we did a reaction to them.
I did a reaction to the track "Up the Down Escalator," which is on this record. The Chameleons script of the bridge. Really cool looking album cover on top of everything. This is yet again debut record right here. A London outfit that reminiscent at points of like the 80s Cure work, their early work. It has a bit more lightness to it. Very melancholic at points. Highly atmospheric record, man, that kind of just puts you, you get a good pair of headphones on and you can just kind of get lost in the soundscape.
Headphones are a must for both of these albums so far.
Oh yeah, and the A side in particular, one of the strongest, I think, sides of the decade up to this point, man. You got Monkeyland, as I mentioned, Up the Down Escalator, Second Skin, Don't Fall, and the closing track, View from a Hill, wraps up the album on just a gorgeous note with some great soaring guitars that just are peppered up throughout the whole record, and some drums that almost harken back to like a New Order or something.
Yeah, and this album, I listened to it before you did, but it was on your list. We don't make our list the same. We just write down, we look at critics' lists and rate your music. What albums do we need to check out that we haven't? I went into your room and was like, dude, this Chameleon album is awesome. You're like, yeah, man, it's on my list. You listened to them. And I'm like, I should have shut up, but it was on your list. Anyway, but just a little sneak peek, a little. They might appear on future lists as well. What do you got for your second pick?
I'm gonna keep with debut records, going with Does Soul Mining, and this is the brainchild of Matt Johnson, who is, I believe, been the only consistent member of the group for their entire inception. Not a big fan of their second record, The Infected, but this album, man, yet again, it must be the year of great debuts.
I was gonna say first 3 are debuts.
I'd have this at like a 4.5 out of 5 stars, man. Very melodically pleasing, and yet it has a bit of a anxiety-provoking nature to it lyrically with those Johnson lyrics, man. This Is the Day is the obvious highlight, but we have the lengthy Giant and Uncertain Smile, which also give it a bit of a run for its money. It has that rhythmic new wave tone at points, which I kind of enjoy, and man, I think it's one you should definitely check out if you're a fan of kind of that post-punky, new wave type of conglomeration.
It would have been on my honorable mention. It's weird, too, because I was into a lot of albums that weren't huge hits in America, yet it kind of seemed like my list this year for some, future years don't, but this year kind of seems to go with the hits. Straight, we got to go with my second pick, The Police, Synchronicity. 5th and final studio album, which is insane in its own right if you live through it like I did, because they were the biggest band in the world, and then Sting just said, I'll see you later. Number 1 in the U.S., selling 8 million copies in the U.S. alone, number 1 in the U.K. Of course, Every Breath You Take One of my favorite songs of all time. Loved it when I was 12 years old. The black and white video, Sting playing his big double bass there. Number one song of the year for Every Breath You Take in U.S. and Canada, but it's got some more hype than that. In 2019, BMI awarded this song as the most played song in radio history. Now, try to wrap your head around that. That is freaking insane. I have no idea how they measure. I mean, I do know how they measure, but who knows if it's right. But it also had King of Pain, Wrapped Around Your Finger, and Synchronicity, too. Just a fantastic offering.
Oh, yeah, man. I actually did a full reaction to this record as well, man. And I'm with you. Obviously, Every Breath You Take, the biggest hit. But there's some nice jams in there as well.
Yeah, there is. And now we're going to go to a guy who we've run almost his whole discography. Mr. Tom Waits, Swordfish Trombones, his 8th studio album. First one he self-produced. Bones Howe kind of took a backseat. 15 songs. Switch. This is where it starts switching up, right?
Yep.
More unusual instruments than past albums.
From his earlier, almost more jazzy type of piano rock stuff,
exactly,
into this experimentation.
And it's hard, Trey, for me sometimes to pick out favorite songs on albums because albums are kind of an experience. Now, when we get to Rain Dogs in a couple years, a couple that stand out, but this one I went with the title song. In the Neighborhood's fantastic, and then 16 Shells from a 30-06 is just one of Waits' funny songwriting efforts. So, what do you got? You got one that I think everybody's gonna be happy with.
Yeah, for my third pick, man, gonna go with possibly my favorite record by this group, Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues. This was actually their highest charting U.S. record, went to number 15. And This Must Be the Place, the closer
Great
on
song.
This, might be their best song. My favorite song by them, actually. I just think it's the band at their peak, man, and as a closer, it just leaves you wanting more, which I think any good record does, man. It's that perfect blend, I think, of that new wave nature with the funkiness and some of that world music elements that the band was obviously touching on Remain in Light in 1980. Burning Down the House as well, one of their biggest songs. I know
hate that song with a passion.
You're not a big fan of
Hate it.
I like it, man. It works well as an opener. Kind of introduces you to what type of sound you're getting.
Flashbacks
in the record,
to the video
man.
on heavy rotation, man.
This is just an album too. You just want to get up and move. It has a sense of fun about it that isn't maybe quite there as much in some of the Talking Heads' earlier work. So enjoy that. And now that for my fourth pick, again, going with the debut, going Violent Femmes, self-titled, written a lot of these songs, the majority of them were written from the mindset of an 18-year-old because their frontman, Gordon Gano, was the lead singer-songwriter on this, man. So it does have that almost teenagey, angsty, through and through nature of it. And yet, you have a song like Blister in the Sun, talking great openers that opens this up. And they just almost keep that, a bit of that folky nature throughout the entire record, which is a bit interesting then with the very angsty type of lyrics. It's a good kind of clash and what you would expect, so to speak, man. And you have those booming drums in there and the blistering electric guitar at points that just gives us a very unique sound. So shout out to the Violent Femmes for this one, man.
All right, well, staying on my traditional hit makers, even though, like I said, that wasn't the idea, I have you to thank for this next pick. Because you listen to this album, like, man, that album's great.
This would have been my number 5 if you didn't take it.
Are you serious? So I went with Madonna. Self-titled, Madonna, her debut. Went to 8 in the U.S., 10 million copies sold worldwide. Of course, Lucky Star, Borderline, Holiday. This album started it all, man, for her. I had this cassette, of course, but I'm like, in my head, I'm not even listening to Madonna. There's a lot of people I've kind of written off of, like, I'm not listening to that. It's not. You told me I went back and listened. I'm like, you know what? He's right. But it started the movement of Madonna. So if you live through the fashion influence of what she became one of the first, like, global icons to kind of be outside of the box. The weird fishnet black stuff she was wearing, the bracelets, and of course that amped up highly sexual on her next album. But here it was just like, oh, what's this girl?
Introduced into the world.
Yeah. And then my last pick, I got a soft spot for this band that may appear years later, but Def Leppard, Pyromania, much more hard rocking than the later on Hysteria, third studio album, Photograph, Rock of Ages, Rock Till You Drop, Foolin', and then the great closer, Billy's Got a Gun. That song is is powerful. So the boys were firing on all cylinders, and then unfortunately we had the car accident, and we had no album for the next 4 years. But they were starting to ascend, Trey. So that album is fantastic.
No, man, I like me some Def Leppard as well, man. So I enjoy your picks right there, and I'm gonna finish it off with yet another group that might appear a few years down the line as
pretty
well,
good bet.
man.
Good guess.
We got Tears for Fears with their debut, The Hurting. So I was just on a debut kick.
You were, man. I didn't even realize that.
In 1983, Everything Besides the Talking Heads is a debut record.
Madonna and REM for me as well.
Yeah, that's right. So this went to 1 in the UK as well. It's a dark album. Lyrically, Tears for Fears coming out, of the gate, man, and you can even kind of tell you got the small child kind of huddled up crying on the cover and whatnot, and it touches on themes like child abuse, depression, and yet you have that impressive new wave synth driven atmospheric quality that the group is really great at. Of course, Mad World, one of their most famous songs, been covered multiple times throughout the decades. Memories Fade is another one of my favorites, and I just think it's a really strong, consistent record from start to finish, man. So that'll wrap up my list, Dad. We have some honorable mentions this year as well.
We do. U2 War didn't quite make it for me, but a really good offering, really good early offering from the boys. Dylan Infidels, one of his stronger albums post Blood on the Tracks.
Yeah. Definitely, and little punk action, suicidal tendency, self-titled. I like Talking to Lady, Cyndi Lauper. She's so unusual.
Talk about having a cultural impact.
Ooh.
Her and Madonna debuting in the same year. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Old Dio with a Holy Diver, getting a little metal action in there. New Order's Power, Corruption, and Lies, really strong album. And then our fellow Texan man, the late great Stevie Ray Vaughan with Texas Flood, some unbelievable guitar work as you would expect on that record. That's going to wrap up our honorable mentions and our draft for 1983. Of course, y'all, as we said at the start, let us know which of these lists, if you had a stack of records, which one are you taking? Are you taking Sean's? Are you taking mine? Let us know in the comments, as well as your favorite records from 1983. And we will be back with 1984 next week, gearing up for it. I'm looking forward to it. And with first pick, hopefully I get off to a strong start.
Yeah, it's a tough year to pick, man. There's a lot of good albums out there. And if you'd like to support us in any way, check out the Patreon link below, or the Patreon link on the end screen. It's about to hit. One of the patron picks or perks, no matter where you're at on the tiers of support, is that you get to vote in a poll. And after we do 3 or 4 lists, we put the winners up from each year, and we vote, and we do a live stream album party of the winners. So one of these albums may pop up there. I don't know.
Yeah, and until next time, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Happy listening, and we will see ya.